Hello and welcome. It's Peg, and if you're new to my channel, this is a sped up version from Art Joy is Sharing, which is my sister channel that I share with Shell C. We do a live show each Thursday, 10:30 Central Standard Time, and today I was creating using a gel plate. Now, I was having a lot of issues, um, and I think it's just because the gel plate I was using was new and it was not pulling the prints the way I wanted them to come up. So eventually I get some alcohol and hand sanitizer and clean the surface and start getting the grungy kind of prints that I'm looking for. Now this was a piece that I'd worked on from the last show, and so I'm just showing the audience. We have a live audience and we talk with them in the chat. And going to use some cream for my hands, Art Guard to save my hands, and then I'm going to start trying to pull some prints. Now you're going to see that I have some issues. The stuff is sticking to the plate and not soaking into the paper the way I want it to. And many times this happens. We're using these prints from our Art Joy Sharing Facebook group, and I'm printing on top of them. And I'm using some translucent paints because I want to be able to see some of the background in the print as I pull it. So I'm starting to get some of those grungy bits on my gel plate, and I want to be able to pick them up. So I'm using my brayer to push that down, and I'm starting to get a few prints that I'm liking, but I'm still having issues with the plate. But this is a board that I had worked previously, and I didn't like the focal point on it, so I'd stripped it back and I'm starting over again. So at this point I'm still struggling with that plate. You can see how the paint is still sticking to the surface, and I'm trying different papers, I'm trying different paints. Nothing seems to be working. So I am getting prints that I like, however it's not working quite the way I want it to. I want to be able to pull all the layers from my gel plate. And sometimes this happens depending on what the temperature and the paint and the paper and the moisture in the air. You know, there's lots of different things to consider when you're gel printing. So, yeah, I'm definitely not happy with some of the prints that I'm getting because it's not working the way I want it to work. I want to be able to pull the whole thing off the plate. You can see me, I'm really pushing that down, and you see my plate still has that coat of paint on there. When it dries, it should adhere to the fresh paint that's on the top and pull completely off of the plate, and that's not what's happening. This is a new speedball plate, and I would recommend that if you get one of these speedball plates that you do what I'm doing, which is cleaning this up with some alcohol and get whatever there is on the surface off of the surface, because yeah, it was not pulling up. So I'm just cleaning up that plate. I've still got some crusty corners, and I want to get some of that pulled up. I've got another secondary plate out there, and I will be cutting down these pieces because I like to have a lot of these different papers in my stash, and I get distracted if they're, I like to sort them out by color and put them into the containers for the color. And because I do collage work with these papers, and that's why I'm using really lightweight papers. I'm using tissue paper and deli wrap and just plain printer paper, and so you can see I'm getting that grungy look by printing on top of those prints that we already had, using stencils from Stencil Girl products. got a little bit too much paint there, so I'm cleaning some of that up and printing again and continuing on. So what I'll do is create a pile of paper, deli and all these other prints, and use them to finish out this mixed media panel that I had begun some time back and am reworking. So I'm adding more layers. I gotta keep those layers going because that's what I'm looking for. I really want that interesting layered look. Now, if you don't know about Art Joy Sharing, it's a Facebook group, and we share our art in that Facebook group. It's not meant for sales or anything like that. It's just where we share our art. And we help one another with ideas and projects, and we have different prompts throughout the months and hashtags that you can use so that people can follow the hashtag. And um, it's something that Shell and I have been doing for a number of years. We started all of this way back doing something called the Pick a Stick Challenge. And each month we give prompts where you just follow the prompts and you make a journal page. And we also have mood boards and let me think. We have hashtags each month. We have an artist group. It's a group of about 20 people who regularly contribute videos to the group and use the hashtags and things that we provide in that group. So come and join us. We'd be happy to have you. You can just answer the questions when you join the group so that we know that you're a real person, and we will add you to the group. So there's my pile of gel prints for today. This is another plate that I pulled out from my stash, and I'm mixing some brown and black together, and going to pull a few more prints on top of these other painted papers that I had from earlier. One of the gals said I was making barcodes, and it does kind of look like barcodes, but it was because I have this linear background. If you look at the background on the panel, there are a lot of linear shapes in that background. So I wanted to continue that because it just goes with the flow. So I'll cut these down, add them to my stash, and then I will start reworking that panel. Do you guys gel print? If you do, let me know down below. I'd love to see what you're doing, and especially, if you've got a YouTube channel or something, let me know. I'd like to come see what you guys are doing. And then also, you can also put that in the group. So I'm just auditioning different pieces. You can see I'm cutting them down, talking to the audience about, what my thoughts are about putting these different pieces of paper together for collage, and why I do it, why I do or pick the pieces that I do pick. It's a process. It's a process that we go through. So we were having a little discussion about Earth Day and what was going on the other channel that my friend has. And yeah, we were talking about things that are being depleted and what we need to preserve. And that page that I had done last week was all about nature conservation and preserving the planet. So seems there's a little bit of controversy over that. Anyway, gonna just continue on with this piece, and I'll show you some final shots of what I came up with. So I think most of the rest of this piece was assembled after the show was over. We do an hour-and-a-half show each week, and that's long enough. You know, we're talking to the audience, and you don't always have the best art in an hour and a half. So, you know, sometimes I have to come back later and finish out a piece. So I'm taking some matte medium and gluing down some of these printed papers and getting my redoing my focal point. I just didn't like where this was going. And I wanted to add another color. And with the pinks and reds and things, I wanted to add a little bit of green into it. So you'll see me looking through my stash, trying to figure out what is it I'm going to use on here. And I finally pull one of those pieces of gel print that had a little bit of green in it and utilize that. So now I'm just grabbing a Stabilo All. This is a water-soluble pencil that I'm using my water reservoir brush with, because once you wet that pencil, it's going to become permanent. Now I'm trimming out this gel printed piece for my central piece, getting that green on the page, determining where I want it, using my matte gel medium to put that down. I'm going to spritz it with a little water to make sure that it's adhered really well, because this is becoming a very textured surface. I have layers and layers on here, and I want to make sure that all the air bubbles are gone and that everything is staying in place. I do cut out a piece that I don't end up using on here. I don't know. I was just still thinking about what direction I wanted to go. Shell and I were in the green room after the show talking about things for the group and what we were going to do next month, and taking our shots for the video that was going up on the other channel. And then, you know, the show was over and I decided I needed to do a little stenciling. So I'm using this other gel plate just as a palette. I have a sponge roller. These are just, you know, the ones from the hardware store. And I am rolling this blue-green paint through the stencil. This is a Stencil Girl stencil. And I just wanted to unify that whole background. And I thought this stencil was going to do the trick for me. So I cleaned it off on one of those other pieces of paper. And I'm using a little lid off of my desk to pick up a little bit more of that paint and move it around. I'll splash some of that color onto the background. You know, I want it to not just be a stencil that I slapped on top of something else. I want it to be part of the whole project. So that's why I am bringing more of that color in to the background and using it not only as the focal point, but, you know, blending it into the whole project. So now comes the time for some line work and mark making. I'm just going to get my Posca pens and finish this out. If you enjoyed this, please remember to give it a thumbs up, like, share, subscribe, all those things that let YouTube know that you like this video content, and also helps other people find my channel. I really appreciate it. So that's it for me this week, and I'll give you some parting shots. Thanks again for stopping by. Bye.